Hello, buddy. Welcome back to the Tin Man Score channel. I'm your host, Jeffrey Tin Man Taylor, and today I'm reacting my third and final Shiny Gold Tails video for you guys. And this is titled 4 True Chilling Dating App Horror Stories. So, without further ado, I'm going to turn these lights off, move the camera up here for you guys, and let's get this reaction on the road in the bag, shall we? Okie dokie, here we go.
This happened last year when I was single. I'm a 27-year-old woman, but I was 26 at the time.
Okay.
I had just downloaded the dating app Tinder, but I was just trying it out. I didn't have any intention to actually meet somebody at the time. I would open it once a day and read a few profiles. By read, I mean look at pictures, because hardly anybody actually writes anything. I didn't actually match with anyone, because I didn't swipe right one single time. I was just there to observe. There was one guy who seemed to pop up almost every time I signed in. His name was Joe, and he was a clean-cut guy, a little overweight, and probably 6 feet tall if I had to guess. I think Tinder has a paid feature where they will show your profile repeatedly, so maybe he had that. It didn't matter to me though. I just kept swiping left to say not interested. One time, I was out walking my dog in a park near my apartment, and I saw a guy walking towards me on the gravel path. As he got closer, he nodded politely, and I did the same. Something about the guy seemed familiar. It took me a few minutes of thinking, but eventually, I realized that it was Joe from Tinder.
Oh, I was just thinking the same thing. He probably did not like her swiping not interested, and now he's trying to locate her, and that ain't good at all. You know, to be honest with you, I'll be scared to get on any dating app like Tinder or Match or one of them other ones, because then I might get hooked up with some crazy person. You just don't know nowadays.
Not a big deal, I thought. We do live in a big city, so the chances of running into him were small, but not unbelievable. Over the next few weeks, I seemed to run into Joe a few too many times, and it became creepy. I began to suspect that I might have a stalker. One evening, I was in my room getting ready for bed when I looked out my window and saw a pair of eyes looking back at me. Someone was looking in through my window. My apartment was on the second floor, so it would have taken some effort to climb up there. As soon as we made eye contact, he disappeared. I went over to the window and looked out. I saw a man running away. I could only see him from behind, but I'm pretty sure that it was Joe. I called the police immediately. They suggested that I stay with a friend for the night, which I did. The next day, we went to the police station to file a report. I actually didn't have any way to contact Joe, since we never met online or otherwise. What we ended up doing was actually pretty creative. When I was discussing with the investigator, I opened the Tinder app and simply swiped until Joe's profile came up. When it did, I told them that that was him. The police placed a restraining order on Joe, and I'm glad to say that we've not crossed paths since.
Well, yeah, that is kind of creative, because if you know it was him, he was going to keep on coming back until he was able to talk to you. But it was a good thing you did not start a conversation with him in the park, because then he will know a lot about you then. But I'm just glad that he did not break in and assault her. But thankfully she hadn't had another run in with him. So let's get to story number 2, shall we?
I'm a 23-year-old woman, and I started using the dating app Hinge a while ago. I had tried a few of the other apps with little success, but I heard from a friend that this one was supposed to be better. I took her word for it and set up a profile. It wasn't long before I started getting matches. One of my matches was Chris. He was a year older than me, with brown hair and kind of an artistic-looking style. Thick glasses with a beard. We had a pretty good conversation one night, and because of that, we decided to meet up in real life. There was a bar that I'd been to a few times with friends, and we agreed to go there. It wasn't my main spot. You should never bring online dates to your favorite places, just in case. I was a little late, so when I got there, Chris was standing at the front waiting. We went in and actually had a pretty good time. Chris was a little socially awkward, but it wasn't that bad. I actually found him kind of cute. We had a few drinks and talked for about 2 hours. Then we went our separate ways, and I headed home.
You see, sometimes you might end up with a good match for you, and the person that you meet is a nice, chill, quiet, calm person, and they talk and eat with you at a certain spot. But then sometimes you might have a creepy guy that just pops up and you don't know it, which I got that feeling that she's dating this dude, and he's probably going to be stalking her now. I don't know. I'm just guessing at this point. But let's just continue with the story. But also, I never even heard of this dating app Hinge. They got so many of them out there now, it's hard to keep up with every single one of them nowadays.
Over the next few weeks, Chris would text me sporadically. I would say once every 2 or 3 days on average. He would go hours or even days without replying, and that's a big red flag for me, so I eventually just stopped answering him. I figured he wasn't ready for someone like me. No hard feelings, I thought. Fast forward to a few weeks later, and I was at home bored when I got a notification on my phone. It was Chris. I was surprised to hear from him, but slightly in a positive way. He asked me if I wanted to hang out that night, and like I said, I was bored, so I agreed. This time I gave him my address so he could pick me up. Half an hour later, he pulled up in front of my building. He had a blue Honda Civic with a large dent in the rear bumper. I got in, and as soon as I did, the mood felt off. Like I mentioned before, he was kind of an awkward guy, but this time, he hardly said a word. I immediately regretted my decision to get into a car with this guy. I decided that as soon as we stopped, I would make an excuse and get out of there. We were going to a different bar this time, and as soon as Chris parked the car, I faked an important call and said I had to leave. I could tell by the look on his face that he didn't believe me, but I turned around and walked away, and he didn't try to stop me. When I was on the bus, I blocked and deleted Chris from Hinge and blocked his number on my phone as well. He didn't do anything that bad, just gave me a weird feeling. It's hard to explain, it just felt off. However, if that was the end of it, then this wouldn't be a very scary story. Over the coming days, Chris sent me a friend request on Facebook and also followed me on Instagram. I was starting to feel creeped out, so I blocked him on both apps. A few days went by and nothing really happened. However, eventually, I started seeing some things that really scared me. I started to see his car parked on the street near my work and even near my apartment building. The dent in the bumper was a dead giveaway. It started to seem like he was stalking me. A few weeks went by, and I kept seeing the car now and then, but I never saw Chris. However, that would eventually change. One evening, I was coming home late from work. I was walking down the sidewalk. It was dark, and for reasons I can't explain, a chill ran down my spine. That was when I looked across the street and saw Chris's car. It was a very quiet night. The street was almost completely empty, so I was feeling very vulnerable. Just then, I was grabbed from behind. A man's arm was wrapped around me. It was Chris. We struggled for what seemed like a long time, but it was probably only a few seconds. It was soon obvious that I could not overpower him, so I did the one thing that I could think to do. I screamed. I screamed as loud as I could, and I didn't stop. Eventually, the noise must have been enough to draw some attention to us, because a few people came out onto the street from one of the nearby apartment buildings. As soon as that happened, Chris took off. I called the police that night and told them the whole story. Fortunately, I wrote down Chris's license plate number, so it was not difficult to track him down. Legal charges are still pending against him for what he did, but I was given a restraining order pretty much overnight. There were many warning signs for what eventually happened. Looking back, I feel that I should have called the police as soon as I started seeing his car parked in my neighborhood. Signs like that should never be ignored, and I almost paid a horrible price because of it.
I mean, yeah, if you get like a bad vibe feeling from this dude, then just act like you gotta take a call, or like she did, or something else, just to get away from him, and then block his number and Hinge profile, just so he wouldn't be trying to contact you anymore. But I figured he got mad. He was stalking her just to see when she was coming and going, just to pick a night to grab her and question her, just take her. But thank God there were some people that heard her screaming, and they ran out there to see what was going on. That made Chris let go of her and drive off. But anyway, I'm just glad that she was able to get the license plate number of his car and was able to get the police to track him down and get a restraining order against him. Because no woman should be dealing with this at all from a man that's stalky and don't leave women alone. If I saw that happening, I would have said, hey, let her go, or I'm calling the cops. And if he don't budge, I'm tackling his butt down to the ground. Because if a man puts his hands on a woman, he ain't a man at all. He's nothing but a daggum scumbag.
I'm Ryan, and I'm a 26-year-old guy, but this happened a few years ago when I was 25. I had been using online dating apps for about 6 months at the time. Like most people, I was skeptical at first. My biggest fear was that I would go to meet a girl, and it would end up being some group of guys playing prank. So my biggest fear was humiliation. This story, however, is not about humiliation. What happened to me was much worse. I matched with a girl named Katie on the dating app Bumble. She was my age with blonde hair and a few tattoos, which was just my type. After we sent a few messages back and forth, I asked her to meet in real life. She agreed and I sent her my number. Normally, I like to take our communication off the app as soon as possible, since it feels a little more personal when you have a person's number. However, she didn't text me and continued using Bumble's Messenger. I figured she just wanted to make sure I was real before giving out any personal information. I respected that and didn't push the issue.
Hey, I respect that too, because I know a lot of women would get catfished too, just like the men would on these dating apps. I agree the same way like he's thinking. I'd be scared to just run into a bunch of men who are just using it to grab people unexpectedly and rob them.
You can't be too careful. Katie suggested that we meet at a small bar in the downtown area. It was walking distance from my apartment, so it was perfect for me. I set out on foot and arrived about 10 minutes early. When I got to the bar, I noticed that it was closed. It was a Tuesday evening, so not exactly the busiest time for bars. I opened the app and sent Katie a message saying that I was there and that the bar was closed. She replied and suggested another place down the street from this one. She also told me that there was a shortcut through a park. I agreed to go to the other place and started walking. While I made my way down the sidewalk, I checked my messages to see if there was any update from Katie. I had a message from her saying that she was there waiting and that I should hurry and cut through the park. I agreed and started walking faster. It was 8 p.m. and the sun was down, so when I got to the park, it was almost pitch dark. The small path going through was unlit. Therefore, I didn't really feel comfortable walking through there. Instead, I started jogging on the sidewalk so I wouldn't leave my date waiting more than I needed to. When I made it to the bar, I was exhausted from running. I stood outside for a minute on the sidewalk before going in so I could cool down and catch my breath. I took this time to check my messages again, but when I looked at Bumble, I was shocked to see that Katie had blocked me. I stared at my phone, still breathing heavily. I was confused. Why would she delete me right before our date?
Yeah, that's suspicious right there. Because I bet you whoever's setting this up deleted it and blocked him because they don't want no evidence tied back to him if he ran away from what they're about to do. So it's probably not even a girl, it's probably a guy or a bunch of guys just setting him up just so they can grab him when he walks in and steal stuff. I don't know, let's just see.
Once I was ready, I went into the bar. I figured it was a mistake, so I could just find her, and then we would exchange information if things went well. I went in and walked around the bar for a few minutes, but Katie was nowhere to be found. The place was small, and she definitely was not there. That was when I started to connect the dots. She was leading me into a trap. She had most likely suggested the first place because she knew it would be closed. Then she could lead me into the park, which was on the way to this place. I figured there was some kind of ambush waiting for me. Luckily, when I got there, I knew it didn't feel right, although at the time, I wasn't sure why. She must have deleted me when she realized that the plan had failed. Although I was disappointed and definitely creeped out by this incident, I realized that it could have turned out a lot worse. Whenever you meet people online, always make sure to follow your intuition and don't do anything that makes you feel uncomfortable. Although I still believe that most people are good, there are some out there who mean to do you harm.
Exactly. Because not everybody on these dating apps seem to be nice people. They may be just acting like them and try to set you up in a dating trap. So if they tell you to go to one place but it's closed and then they tell you to go somewhere else, trust your gut and don't buy it. It's a trap. And if they blocked you automatically, there's your proof right there. All along that they won't really want to date you. They probably wanted to either rob you or kidnap you. You just don't know nowadays. But I'm glad he didn't go and meet this supposed Katie and nobody didn't follow him home.
Just for some background, I'm an 18-year-old male currently living in New York. I'm 6'4" and muscular. I've always been one of the larger kids in my class, and I look old for my age. I stopped growing in 9th grade, which was 4 years ago, so that should give you an idea of what I mean. I was that kid in the 8th grade who could already grow a full beard. There's one of us in every school. This happened last month just after my 18th birthday. I was lonely after a breakup with my girlfriend of 7 months, and I was looking for a rebound, so I turned to Tinder. I set up a profile with my real pictures and lied about my age, saying I was 24. I matched with a gorgeous girl. She was almost too good to be true, but I went with it anyway. We exchanged a few innocent messages and planned to meet at her place the next day at 9 p.m. I wasn't as excited as you might think. I had my doubts about whether she was real or not. The next day, as the time approached 9 p.m., I was getting ready to go over to her place. Before I left, I texted my dad saying that I was going to a friend's house. I asked my good friend James, who was 6 years my senior, to drive me, since I didn't have a car. He drove me to her apartment, and I rang the doorbell. I heard light footsteps behind the door, and a high-pitched voice saying, "Be right there." That's when I texted James telling him that everything was fine, and that he could leave. As soon as the door opened, I felt a tremendous sense of relief, because I was face to face with the girl from the pictures. Unfortunately, that feeling would be short-lived. As soon as I entered, she promptly asked me if I wanted a drink. I politely declined, which caused a noticeable change in her demeanor. This set off a red flag, and I became suspicious of her intentions. Realizing that I might be in trouble, I asked to use the bathroom to give me a chance to contact my friend. She obliged eagerly. I entered the bathroom and quickly texted James for a ride. Looking up from my phone, I could barely make out what looked like a dark figure behind the shower curtain. Before I was sure what I was seeing, the figure pounced out like a cat, and I found myself in a wrestling match with this mysterious man. I was absolutely terrified, even though I was much larger than him. He was probably 5'10", 165 pounds, and bald. He seemed to be in his mid-30s. I was 6'4" and 210 pounds. Once I got my wits about me, I was able to overpower him easily. I took him to the ground and punched him in the face 2 or 3 times. After that, James texted me to tell me that he was waiting outside the building. Just then, the girl barged into the bathroom and started screaming. I ran past her and got out of that apartment. When I got into the car, I frantically explained to him what had happened. It only then hit me that I could have been drugged, mugged, or worse. I took screenshots of her profile and all the messages between us. Even though I'd gathered all that evidence, there was still little that the police could do, since it was just my word against theirs. I got away from this one with little more than a scare. The moral of the story is that you always meet in a public place for a first date, probably the second too, just to be safe.
Whew. Yeah, I'm glad he fought his way away from that guy. But he is right. If a lady asked if he wanted a drink and he said, no, thank you, and her demeanor changed from pleasant to more angered look, something ain't right. She was probably planning on drugging you to make you go to sleep, or if you decided to go to the bathroom, that man that was hiding in the curtain was going to pounce on him anyway, knock him out, and they'd probably rob him and throw his butt somewhere on the streets. But thank God his gut told him not to take the drink and text somebody just so he could get out of there. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, turn on post notifications for more Shiny Gold Tales reactions like this. This has been another successful installment of the Tin Man Score channel. I'm your host, Jeffrey Tin Man Taylor, and that's a wrap. And have a nice day.